We ventured into a new state, the state of Wisconsin, to visit a big haunted house complex up there called Abandoned. Very first time there, it promised to be very good. What did you think, Laura?
It was excellent. This is a haunt that actually, I guess I didn't know what to expect because we were in a different state. We know like the rules in Illinois and then Indiana. Some of the ones in Indiana can touch you, but most of them don't. And then Illinois, they don't. I didn't know what to expect in Wisconsin, so I was just like thinking, okay, what's this going to be like? Well, right off the bat, I mean, I could see it was going to be pretty good. Actually, too, this is the first haunt that I actually felt a little claustrophobic. And, you know, actually it wouldn't be a good thing, but in this case, it was due to the haunt, which marked being a good haunt, because the claustrophobic feeling was due to the fact that it felt so authentic, like you were actually immersed into these sets. In this haunt, there's very little of dark hallways, which we see a lot in haunts. And this one actually went from one room and one set to the other. And there were a lot of things that I could say about the different sets. But the most important thing is you really felt like you were in the middle of what was happening. And like I said, I got a little claustrophobic there because some of the rooms were very tight, narrow spaces, but it felt like you were really in a cave. It wasn't like, you didn't feel like you were actually just in a big building or anything. You actually felt that you were really there. So anyway, but to go over some of my favorite parts, there was actually they had sirens going, and it was like like a chaotic scene where I guess zombies or escaped prisoners. I don't know what was going on. All I know is you can hear like machine guns, you hear gunfire and everything. And I look back, and they actually have a guy like above you, shooting with a gun, like shooting, like to make you feel like you're in the middle of all this, which was really, that was something different that I haven't seen someone above doing something like that. And then another room I really liked is that it was a funeral wake. We've been seeing a lot of that this year, which they've all been pretty good. I have to say, you know, that these funeral scenes. But in this particular one, you're walking around and you're looking at the body, which you can see it's a real person. You're waiting for them to do something, but then above you, there's someone doing something. So that was, I mean, that's a spoiler alert, so sorry about that, but I thought that was pretty cool. Acting was great in there. It was, the actors, they all stayed in character, did a really great job. So for our first haunt in Wisconsin, I have to give this a 5 out of 5. 5 chainsaws. Excellent.
Okay, the thing about Abandoned that really sets it off for me is that it was such a visual haunt. A lot of haunts are visual in different ways. Some things assault the senses. Other places have very detailed sets that are expansive. They look realistic in the sense that you're in a big area, imitating whatever it's supposed to be. Abandoned really was true to its name. It looked like you went into some sort of abandoned world where every room was real. It was just some real room that you stumbled upon. So picture you found an abandoned building somewhere. And you walked in from room to room to room, and you see junk lying all over the place. You see old paintings on the walls. Things are covered with dust and dirt and things like that. That's what this looked like. And as Laura was mentioning, there were things going on multiple levels. So if you looked above you, there was no ceiling of a warehouse where the haunted house was. It was piping, or red lights, or even machine gun nests. We went through different areas that were supposed to be cave systems. So there were creepers hanging down from the wall.
Right, you were
plants.
completely in the, I mean, there's no like ceiling showing, like,
yeah, there was
to
nothing.
look up to see that you're not really there. It felt like it was authentic. It felt like you were really inside the cave because the cave, the ceiling was the cave too. It wasn't.
Exactly.
Okay.
Everywhere you went was authentic from top to bottom and around all sides. It was absolutely excellent. It was one of those haunts, if there were no actors in there, I would have still loved this haunt because I just loved looking at every single thing that they had along the walls and on desks and things. Like, for example, they had a morgue scene, which was fantastic. There were corpses on autopsy tables, and there were live actors eating the bodies of the corpses, which was gruesome enough in itself. But if you looked around the room, they had real autopsy equipment, real autopsy tools, real equipment that they used when they embalmed bodies, all of that stuff. It was down to even the vials of chemicals that were on the shelves were all authentic. It was that
was
level.
creepy.
Yeah, it was creepy, all right. And it was that level of authenticity. It is a very long haunt. they advertise it at being 45 minutes long. We didn't find it to be quite that long, but it was at least 35 minutes long. And it consists of 2 haunts. You go through one and immediately go to the other one. So you can't skip around. They're in a certain order. The first haunt has sort of random scenes to it. You jump from a cave scene to a crypt scene to a turn-of-the-century carnival scene. The next haunt, on the other hand, is sort of thematic. You're sort of going through a series of abandoned buildings, and you go farther down into these buildings. Like there's an old prison that you go through, and it looks like a prison from around the 1600s, 1700s. Old doors and things like that. Very, very authentic. It was just fun to look at. Not really extremely high on the scares or in-your-face acting. There were a lot of actors, but a lot of them were just pop-outs, like boo type of thing. But it was okay, because when you're in abandoned, it does feel as if you've been abandoned in the middle of nowhere, and you have to find your way out. And if that's what they were going for, they really, really succeeded. So 5 out of 5, outstanding, excellent.